Today, I'm going to give you a really simple guide to get arcade games up and running on your Nvidia Shield TV. Now, the first thing you will need is an emulator. I prefer to use MAME for Droid. Others argue that RetroArch does have more compatible games, but MAME for Droid is definitely simpler, and I love a lot of the features they have that RetroArch lacks as far as MAME goes. Alright, so the first thing I want to do is go to the Google Play Store on your Shield, and you'll type in MAME for Droid. It'll pop up, and right here it'll say install where I have open. So go ahead and install it, and then go back to your home screen. Okay. Now, the first time you open up MAME for Droid, it's going to ask you, would you like to use the default directory to store ROMs in? I choose to do that, and I'll show you exactly where that is at. Okay, so let's exit out here by hitting the back button. Okay, so you'll need a file explorer. A lot of people have EX Explorer. I personally have been using X Explorer. So you'll find that in the Google Play Store as well. So you tap that A button. Alright, so we want to find where that folder is that we directed MAME for Droid to store our ROMs. So we'll go to our root directory, and you'll look for a folder called MAME for Droid. And inside MAME for Droid, you will see a folder named ROMs. And that is where you'll store your ROMs or another directory if you chose to do so. So let's go back up out of here. Okay, so let's go back into MAME for Droid. Now, something important that I'd like to touch on is I definitely do not recommend using sites like MU Paradise and Cool ROMs, etc. Not because they're bad sites, it's because MAME for Droid uses an older ROM set, and those sites typically have newer ROMs that cause compatibility issues. I cannot link or tell you where to get the ROMs at, but you will Google search of 0.139U1 ROMs, and you'll definitely find what you're looking for. You could choose to download the whole ROM set if you like. It's like a little over 27 gigabytes, or you could pick and choose what ROMs you like. It's up to you. Okay, so let's go fast forward here. Let's assuming you have some ROMs in your ROM folder. So let's set up MAME for Droid. So you'll hit your start button. Now I am using the 2017 Nvidia Shield TV controller. Your controls may be different depending on what you're using. So I'm hitting the start button here, and you want to see this setting. So you'll click settings, and here's various options to change performance, inputs, a whole bunch of different things here. You'll see what I have in here. I don't really mess with the game filtering. Alright. Emulation. This is where you can choose the default, you know, resolution it'll upscale to. I choose, of course, 1080p and various other performance. And oh, here's something here. Show frames per second. Let's say you have a game that you want to benchmark or you think it's running a little slow. You can check this and it'll display the frames per second in the box the game plays. And cheats. I personally like to use cheats on certain MAME games, so I check that, but it's up to you. And I unchecked save battery because you really don't need this. This is a Shield TV. Alright, I left all those defaults. I saved the high scores. Input. Again, if you're using the controller I mentioned earlier, you really shouldn't have to mess with anything here. It should be all set up for you. In the general tab, you have an image enhancer. I went to HQ3X It's up to you. True RGB, and these are various performance things you can mess with here. Of course, net play. I really don't know how to set that up, but that's if you want to play over the network. You go in your advanced again. More performance things. I'm not a professional, so I really don't know what a lot of these things do. All right, so come down here. You'll see portrait display settings, and you'll see landscape display settings. On the Shield TV, portrait's useless because it does not display in portrait mode, so don't bother messing with that. On landscape, you have various options here. You can scale. I personally prefer to keep aspect ratio, but you could choose to stretch the screen. But again, if you do that, some images will be a little odd looking, or original size, it'll be really small. But just be careful. Don't scale it too big, because if you do, you will not be able to see everything on the screen. Then if you want to choose an overlay, have different images here. And then we have the smooth scaling on. Alright, so now we're back to this screen. Now, let's assume you have ROMs in your folder. Here are your ROMs. You have your mainframe join installed. You have it pointed in the right directory. So ROMs will show up in just like this. So if you see that I have it green, that's because it's added to my favorite list. Let's say you hit B, and it'll give you the options to remove from the favorite list. And if I do that, whoops, sorry, you'll see it turns white. Basically, the way I have that is when I install new ROMs, I want them to stay white so I know if they've been tested or not, see if they work. So I'm going to add that back to the favorites. So let's go ahead and play a ROM here. Just get a brief way how it works. Okay, so Final Fight World. We'll start that up. Sorry, Final Fight is the world version. Now on the Shield TV controller, it's already mapped by default. Now this is main ROMs. They still believe they're actually arcades, so they have BIOS and parts. So you'll see it'll check and ROM prompts and all that every time you start a game. Now you actually have to add coins. Of course, in this case, virtual coins. So you'll click the right thumbstick, the left thumbstick to add coins. And to start, you'll click the right thumbstick. As you can see, it looks really good. Some of the image enhancements definitely helped. Doesn't look as jagged or blurry. Everything's running fine. Alright, here's another little trick it made for Droid. If you click both sticks simultaneously, you'll get this options here. And this is where you can set inputs for certain games, dip switches, video cheats, video options, cheats, all that stuff. So as I said, now you got to enable cheats in the first original options, but if you enable cheats, you have different settings, and they're vary from game to game. What you can choose to turn on, what you turn off. Let's exit out of here. Also, if you choose the start button here, you can say we want to save a state. So what you want to do is save state, and then pick a button that you want to save to. So let's just say we'll save state, we'll save it to A. Alright, so I'll play a little bit further. And let's go ahead and do that again. Hit load state. Load the same button you saved to, and you're right back to where you were. And then you can order, of course, you can access the options and all that from the screen as well. So let's exit out of here. And the last thing I would recommend is to get a front end. Main for Joy works really well, but the front end is very basic. So what I do is I've installed Arc Browser. Select Arc Browser there, and as you can see, I have my arcade set up there to where I have all artwork, and I can select any of these that play right away. It's basically just a nice front end to look at versus just seeing a bunch of text. In a future video, I'll go over how to set up Arc Browser, which is pretty simple as well. Thank you for watching, and I really hope you learned something from this brief video.